Welcome to Sage Audio. Today let's cover mastering loud but not squashed. But first, if you have a mix that you need to have mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. The mistakes engineers make. The primary mistake that engineers make when they're trying to make a loud master is relying too heavily on the limiting stage. Now it goes without saying, and you probably know this if you're watching this video, but the more that you push a signal into a limiter, the quieter it's actually going to sound in the long run. Now this is especially true if the master is going to get normalized. So let's take a listen to a mix being ruined this way, and then we'll move on to some better methods for achieving loudness.
I'm wishing I was
EQ and loudness. If we take a look at this graph of where our ears are most sensitive, we'll notice that 3 to 5 kHz sounds the loudest when compared to other frequencies. Now we can subtly boost this area on our master to make it sound louder. This next graph shows how much 250 Hz masks other frequencies. We'll notice that it has the greatest effect on this same 3 to 5 kHz range. Now this means that we could subtly attenuate 250 Hz to reduce its masking effect, in turn creating a louder master. So let's add both of these subtle filters and notice how our master becomes a little louder.
I'm wishing I was
If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us bring you more videos. Picking the right saturation types. Saturation is going to cause harmonics, which will emphasize certain frequency ranges. Now the trick when we're trying to make a loud master is finding a saturator that emphasizes the mids and the highs, but has a subtle effect on the lows. Now this is easier when you can emphasize saturation on higher frequency ranges, like with this PSP saturator. Just be sure to use oversampling, and if it's available, its smoothing function to avoid aliasing. Let's take a listen to how saturating the frequencies that we're most sensitive to causes the signal to sound louder.
I'm wishing I was
Focusing on quiet details. Maximization, upward compression, and inflating all work by capturing quieter details of the signal and amplifying them. Now this is what we're actually trying to do with aggressive limiting, but with these types of processors, we don't need to sacrifice our peaks. Granted, if we do use these too aggressively, we'll still lose dynamics. Regardless, this is a great alternative to downward compression when you're mastering, especially when trying to make a louder master. So let's take a listen.
I'm wishing I was
Avoiding compression mistakes. Like with limiting, there are a lot of mistakes that we could make here. For a loud master, don't use look ahead and avoid a long release time. Additionally, and it goes without saying, don't heavily compress the signal. Instead, consider using subtle mid-side compression to cause dynamic stereo expansion. Aside from this singular use, I find that compression doesn't help too much when I'm mastering, unless it's for corrective reasons like with de-essing. So let's take a listen to how even subtle compression can negatively impact loudness if we use a long release and some look ahead.
I'm wishing I was
The roles of linear phase and oversampling. Both linear phase processing and oversampling will affect the loudness of your master in the long run. Unless used for parallel processing, linear phase should typically be avoided due to how it's going to affect transients. Oversampling, on the other hand, will reduce the effect of aliasing distortion. Aliasing distortion causes phase cancellation to our high frequencies, which subtly reduces loudness by attenuating important high frequency ranges and by lowering the overall level through destructive interference. Let's take a listen to high latency linear phase processing, since its effect is going to be more pronounced, and notice how higher latency settings negatively impact the dynamics and the high frequency transients.
I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you. I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling with you.
Working with normalization. Since YouTube, Spotify, and other services normalize audio to roughly -14 LUFS, many engineers make the mistake of mastering to -14 LUFS, something I've been guilty of myself. Now in truth, if you master to a little above this loudness, your track is still going to sound louder than a -14 LUFS track, even after normalization. Granted, if you destroy your dynamics like we covered in Chapter 1, it's not going to sound louder, but if you use upward processing and some thoughtful limiting to get closer to -10 or -9, the quieter parts that you push to the forefront will make a difference. To show this, I'm going to play a track that's mastered to -14 LUFS, and then one that's mastered to -10 or -9, but normalized to -14 LUFS, and we should still be able to hear a difference.
I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you. I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you. I'm wishing I was.
If you're enjoying the channel, use the search box to watch more of our videos. Try left-right limiting. If I'm trying to make a loud master, I often separate my signal into left and right channels, on which I can insert limiters with identical settings. Now this way, each limiter is only causing attenuation when the individual channel is crossing the threshold. This is similar to delinking channels. With this setup, I find I'm able to push the signal to a much higher level and still avoid aggressive attenuation. This is especially true with this Oxford limiter in particular, where I could use the enhance function to amplify quieter details in addition to the peak down limiting. Let's take a listen.
I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you. I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you.
Common limiter mistakes. Aside from using limiters too aggressively when trying to make a loud master, another big mistake is using look ahead. This will cause the limiter to capture peaks early, in turn attenuating transients and reducing important dynamic high frequencies. Just as importantly, avoid true peak limiting. This also reduces the impact of transients, causing the master to sound quieter. Instead, monitor true peaks and use oversampling, as well as slightly lowering the output to avoid them. Let's take a listen to a limiter being used with and without true peak limiting enabled, and notice how it can negatively impact our transients.
I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you. I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you.
Importance of clipping. Last up, let's take a look at how we could use clipping to increase a master's loudness. In short, clipping causes a form of high-frequency noise to be added whenever the threshold is crossed. Now this acts a little like an exciter in that it's adding high-frequency content to transients. This makes the master sound brighter overall and somewhat counterintuitively helps us retain transients since the added noise makes them easier to identify. Let's take a listen to how clipping creates a louder master and pay attention to how the transients still sound bright and present when they cross the clipper's threshold.
I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you. I'm wishing I was rolling, rolling, rolling with you.
If you have a mix that you need to have mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.